All right, we're back, and I'm going to show you my method of how I, when I'm doing these, how I prepare the valve clearance on this. A lot of people like to wait till they have the engine installed or the head installed on the head, and to get in the ballpark, you don't necessarily have to do that, and I've proven that time and time again. And we've got a little bit better light here, but it's not best. Let me see if I can adjust it a little bit, as a matter of fact. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is, again, remember, you might not be able to see it, but on this, it shows our intake and our exhaust. We've already placed our valves in their location, and I'm going to just give these, just because I like it, I'm going to give these just a skosh, just a little smurging of some oil, just because I like some being down in there. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start with this first one, which is closest to me. And what I'm going to do is I got my bucket here, and I'm going to look on here and see if I can see the printing on this. And there is printing on there, but I can barely even see it. So what I use is a micrometer. What we're going to do, I'm going to set this here. We're going to map out, let's see if you can see here. We're going to map out our valves in X. Okay. And we're going to start right here on this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a map of the thickness of our shims, where they're at, and what kind of clearance that we have here. The second thing I have here is my shim kit. Okay, and my shim kit, I haven't checked this thing in a little while here. Looks like I'm got a pretty decent supply. I'm short on the 1.8s. I'm short on a couple of them, so I need to restock these soon. But I have all these different thicknesses of shims. As the valve taps against the valve seat, sitting here going over and over and over again, the valve is wearing towards the cam. And as it wears, as it seats into its position, over and over and over again, it is progressing closer and closer this way. And obviously it's under the bucket, the shim is under the bucket coming into contact right here. And the only way that we can adjust that clearance when the cam is not supposed to be in contact with the bucket within the valve, opening the valve, is we reduce the thickness of the shim. On rocker type engines, you can loosen the rocker and create more clearance and then tighten it down. That's not how we do this. So let's dive right into it here. We're just going to map these out so we know what size each one of them are. This is going to be one of those long videos, but you can play it at a higher speed or skip around, whatever you want to do. That's fine. Okay, so this one is at, I'm going to call it 2.85. You see that? 2.85. So I'm going to map that here, 2.85. So that's, I'm going to put S next to it, S for shim. So we know what size shim's in there. If we have to adjust this is what's kind of cool. I'm going to put the cams, I got the hot cams right here, in this roughly in time, secure the keeper on it, and I'm going to get a rough clearance on there. That's the one thing I didn't grab. I didn't grab my feeler gauge. Well, when we get all these mapped in here and placed in place, then I'll go out and grab my feeler gauge, and then we will proceed on. But 2.85 sitting right there. So I'm going to go ahead and place that one in its corresponding place. And it's probably written on here, but my vision is awful. And these should not be placed in here where it's in a bind. Okay? And then the next thing that we're going to do, again, this is important because having a little bit of oil on these buckets and then being patient ensures the fact that we won't have them get stuck on us, or less likely to have them get stuck, because they like to be in here a certain way, and we don't want to get them stuck in there in a bind. So that's really happy. Good. Okay. Since I got oil on my hands, I'm going to put my... Ew, that's a gross rag. Ugh. Here's one. Here's one that's good. I'm going to set him right here. Okay. I'm going to go to our next one, which is this right intake. Okay. I don't know if you can see this. Here we go. I'm going to put it up here where you can see it. Sorry. Okay. This one is, I'd call it 2.9. Let me see if I can get it to squeeze anymore. We can call it 285 also. It's a tight 285. It's a tight 285. All right. I'm going to put this one in place. Now, why am I torturing you by putting this stuff on here and watching you do or putting all this on here? It's the point is to be thorough. And I want you to understand what kind of time goes into doing this. Again, I'm not a real mechanic, so real mechanics probably work at a more timely speed or rate. There we go. And sometimes these can have some very slight variations to them. We can find little places where it wants to be. And if you see a bunch of marks or gnarling or friction points on these, it's time to replace them. Okay, we're going to our exhaust. Yeah, I'm looking at my screen. I had to tap it. You probably can't see it. Let's see. 3 point. I'm going to call it 3.10. 3.10. That's this one on the left here. And a lot of times, yeah, this one's actually labeled as 3.10. It's actually labeled. If there is an indentation on it, I try to face it up, and that way whoever's there might be able to see it next time. So in the file that I'm keeping on this bike, I'm going to place my little key in here. Can you imagine doing this on like a 4-cylinder engine? Like one of my Gixxers or something? We're going to do that sometime on this channel. I think I'd actually like to do a full rebuild on one of those. I've looked at a few core engines that some people were selling, and I think it'd be really interesting to do a rebuild on one of those and have an engine, and it may not be as good as the engine that's in there right now. Yeah, I can't quite make out what's on there. Looks like I'd call it 3. Oh, that's real tight. I mean, we can call it 310. It's a tight 310, but that would make sense because I adjusted these just a matter of, I think it was like 3 years ago, maybe 4. And this hasn't been used that much. Or it's been used, but just not a huge amount of time. And the farmer probably has the sheet for what I put in there, but this is going to be close enough for a baseline. Pardon me. Okay. All right, this is one of those situations where it might like being just in a slightly different position. So we're going to find it. Because you remember, this is the engine that was in my S model. Let me see here. I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to rotate it. That's setting up kind of high. Sometimes they get a little, I mean, remember, we've upset this thing's whole world. Yeah. We're just going to work through this. There we go. We found where it wanted to be. There was just a little bit of a lip in there. So we're done. We're done with this for now. I'm going to go ahead and shut it off to save the battery and close it all the way. And this is just a Harbor Freight tool here. And, you know, for as accurate as we're going, this is acceptable. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and rotate it this way here. And I'm just going to put just a little more on now. Okay. And we're going to get our hot cams out of the box. All right. I'm going to go ahead and take the hot cams out of the box. And then I'm going to also get my feeler gauge so we only have to brake once. All right. This is take 2. I had things backwards here. I rarely do this. But inside of our box of goodies here, of our stage 2 hot cams, it tells us very useful information. On it, it shows valve lash for the intake. It shows us at 0.15, and on the exhaust, it shows us at 0.2 as being where they want them at. But if I remember correctly, it's 0.10 to 0.20 on the intake, and I think it's 0.20 to 0.30. When I look it up, if it's incorrect, I will put it huge on the screen here, what the OEM ones call for. I typically try to run in the center of what OEM shows, and I think they're advising to put these a little tight. I'm not mistaken on the exhaust, but we will find out shortly. We will try to aim them at these points, but here we go. Now, here is the magic here. What we do when we are putting these in time, we line up the exhaust perfect on the dots that are on the cams here. You can see there's a 12 o'clock mark and a 3 o'clock and, excuse me, a 9 o'clock and a 3 o'clock. And same thing here. This is not going to pertain to us so much, but to properly time it when we have the cam chain on here, what we do is we have this lined up where it's supposed to be at, in line with the surface of the head here. See, there's a dot here and a dot here. And we'll count 15 pins on the cam chain, and where that cam chain has its 15 pin at is where this this 12 o'clock mark is, even if it puts it slightly, I think what it does is it puts it slightly, what it would look like it's retarded or slightly behind time, but that'll be correct time. If you're new to wrenching on things, none of this is going to really make sense, but it is a very specific timing for the stage 2 hot cams. Okay, that's out of the way. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to put this in relatively perfect time, and for this purpose, having it at the 12 o'clock marks straight up and down is just fine, because there's no finality of this. And what we're going to do, these cams were relatively dry in here, so I'm juicing them up a little bit to wake them up. Nothing wrong with that. Probably going to have to clean a lot of this up, but I feel good about putting oil on here. What I'm going to do is, and the other thing that I'm not going to do is I'm not going to perfectly torque these down. They're going to be torqued down, but they're not going to be perfectly torqued down, because we're doing the dirty process of this, the quick and dirty. We're getting a quickie out of it. So what we're doing is, these are labeled, this one's labeled intake. Obviously it's the intake. And this is the side that has the dowel pins on it. The dowel pins are on this side of the head. And we know for sure that's the way in which it goes. Now, does that mean go over here with your freaking hammer and blast these things down? No, you might have to wiggle the cam a little bit to get it in the perfect slot on it. And we might have to wiggle this retainer in here. And it's just going to take and just like that, it went right down on there. And I didn't put any juice on this one, but it's going to get some. This one's going to get some, just because, just a little bit of the tip, you know. Okay. And likewise, this one's labeled as exhaust, EX, and the dowel pins that are on the head go on this side. So it's just as we had it shown to us here. And let's see. Okay. Very good. Might as well drop my phone. You know, just for the sake of doing it as right as we possibly can, I'm going to go ahead and put this piece on here. But it's just, all it's going to serve is being a pain in the butt. And it takes a specific bolt on these. I think it's the longer of these. But we just put them in there. This is going to be adequate. This is going to be adequate. We're just going to go ahead and locate these. If there's one of them that's sinking way down too far in there, we will place it alternatively. But okay, that one's setting way high. Okay, so I'm going to switch these two. Yeah, that's better. Okay, and is it this one? I bet it is. I'm going to go through here and start these by hand, just because I can. Okay. The next step is I'm going to double check that our marks are close. And this one moved a little bit, that's fine. And I'm not power torquing these things down. I'm not getting crazy. That's adequate. All right, we're back, and I gotta apologize. I had to take this piece off of here. I had some slight misalignments on here, and that's why we ended up having trouble. I ended up going through and measuring this. I got a little frustrated, and we ended up a little tight over on this side. You can't read it, but it says 0.203, and it's a tight drag, but it was a loose at 178, which is what the second one measured at. And these both have a 3.10 shim in them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 300 in this one and a 305 in this one, and then we'll go back and check. Both of these measured at 0.15, I mean perfectly on the intake, so we're not going to mess with them. So real quick, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this process one more time, and I'm going to show you. Let's see. And I'm just going to remove the exhaust. And one of them being a little stubborn on the buckets, so I'm a little bit nervous about it, but I'm just going to show you everything as it is over here. And we're going to leave the intake one in place. I'm not worried about it. Okay, so yeah, we're feeling good, and our dowel pins are just, you got to have the whole piece coming off relatively evenly. Bingo. And okay, so the one on the left was the loosest, and we're going to go with 305, and that is the one that was being stubborn on us. And I'm not looking forward to dealing with this, but just for the sake of transparency, I'm going to show you guys. Please come out. Please come out. Yeah, this one's being stubborn. We'll do this one first, and I'll come back. I might have to get the mega magnet. If you're going to do this, it's very important, especially if you're doing this with it on the engine. You're going to want to have some of these pin magnets, just in case you drop something, and it's really handy to get the buckets off. Oh, there we go. About went crazy on it. Okay, so here's our 310. Okay. 310, and that's 3125, 305, 310. It's going to go here. I'm going to dig in here, and I'll look in here and confirm that the stamp on this is a 310. This may be a reuse. Let me go over here and double check it with my tool. My handy dandy tool. It shut itself off. Yeah, 0, so that's good. So I'm going to confirm that this one is a 305, 3.05 that is. Yeah, I'll get on board with that. Okay. So that's pretty happy. Go ahead and close this. Shut it off. Set it over here. Put our bucket back on. Yeah, this other one is being a little naughty. Now it's happy. Yeah, I'm going to have to grab my big magnet to get that one out of there. We'll come back to it. All right, after consulting the mega magnet, we were able to extract it. I don't know why some of them get that stubborn sometimes. So what did we decide that we were going to do here? We already put our 3.05 in the, we'll call it the right-hand side. And we're going to put the 300. Oh, there's two of them in here. Good. I usually don't. Oh, good grief, they're stuck together. There we go. Got them unstuck. All right, I got one left. And when I use that other one, I will use the last one, I will order some more. In a pinch, I could do a little sanding on one of these and modify it to the width or the thickness that I need it to be. I'm just going to double check here. 300. Yeah, there we go. All right, before I'm done with this for the night, I'm going to make sure and remove the battery on it, because I've had one of these discharge before me and really ruined my day. I've got a print going up. Okay. Putting our cam in. Oh, wait a second. Dewey, what are you doing? I'm going to put our bucket in here. And this is the one that it just likes to go in a certain way. It might have got tweaked at some point or something, but it's where it wants to be now. I'm going to put a little bit of oil, little bit, on there just to encourage it to not be a butthead. All right. Just a little smacky smacky. Did I say I wasn't going to hammer these earlier? I mean, I probably won't hammer them. See, wouldn't this be a real bummer to have to do this over and over again, and then still just to get it in the ballpark to rotate the whole thing over and over again? And I have to mess with the cam chain and all this business, mess with the tensioner. This, to me, is a little extra time now. That's going to save me time later. Okay, close enough. And that's flowing, they're moving real quick, real easy. And real quick here, oh good grief. I think I put my marker, there it is. I'm gonna update this real quick. We're going to a 305. So 305 and a 300. Oh, excuse me. 300 and a 305. So, real quick, let's get our feeler gauge. Sorry, I kind of was in a panic just a few minutes ago. I dropped the shim when I used the mega magnet there, and I thought it went in under the springs here, and I was freaking out for a minute, but I'm good now. It didn't go there. Let's see, there's a 0.108. Looking for a 223. .203. We're just going to look at the 203 here and how it feels on here. Oh yeah, that's on this side. That's feeling good. On this side, it's feeling good. Let's see. I know they want a 200, which that would be a good measurement for it. But I'm going to go back over here, and this is a 254. I thought I had. So there's the 9, 7, 8. That's the 9. Okay, that's the 9. So this is the 2-2. That's a real snug. So we're on the tight end of that. That's real snug there. we're close to where it wants to be. And I'm going to challenge Link to follow up on this. And this might get looser, this might get tighter when we cycle the engine over a few times. So I'm going to write this down real quick, because if we don't have the data, it never happened. So I'm going to call the measurement on this 0.223, 0.223, and that's where we're leaving it. I'm happy with that. 0.15, which is right where they want it, which is right in the middle of spec. And again, I'm going to double check the spec for what this is, but I think it is the 0.2 to 0.3 millimeter mark. So that we got this set up. It has to fight you a little bit, or it's not worth it. But I've had enough tonight, so that's enough for me. That concludes this part. The next part, we will be going to the piston, and we're going to set the piston rings into place, and then we'll go from that point to the cases, and we'll put the piston on the connecting rod, and then we will finish up the top end, and that'll be the video after that. And then more or less we'll be done, and my task will be completed as far as the build series. And I'm thankful. I've had enough of this. Filming this has really been a challenge for me, because it's more or less doubled or maybe even tripled the time. But I wanted to share this experience with you. So if you have any questions, make sure and leave them in the comment section, and like and subscribe, blah blah blah. Thanks for watching.